Ever since the new Cowboy Bebop live action, there has been this one little divide in the anime community. In actuality, just divide between people who don't like it and watch the anime, and people who never watch the anime and still don't like the live action just like everyone else, not knowing what really the original is all about. So at the end of the day, it's not really that much of a divide. If you were to ask me what I thought about it, as someone who watched the original anime, I thought it was just okay, or at least for the first couple of episodes. There were things I liked about it and some that I didn't. There were things that were changed from the original and stuff, so right now I am here to explain you the three major differences between the Cowboy Bebop anime and the Netflix Cowboy Bebop live action. The first difference that's the most visible, although not as big as the other two, is the difference of animation and live action, which are the actors themselves. By that, I don't mean to send any hate to the actual actors, they are just doing what they are being told after all. Directors tell the actors in between takes how to act, how the character should feel, etc. There's just a lot that actors can't change no matter how you look at it, but taking anime characters and reforming them into actors already makes some sort of difference in tone. If you see an anime character doing something and you try to replicate them yourself, it might feel a little bit cringe to do so since animation breaks a lot of restrictions from real life, so you have to do some stuff differently to make it look better. Difference number 2, similar storyline yet different at the same time. When Bebop live action was announced for the first time and I found out that it would be supervised by the original director of Bebop, Shinichiro Watanabe, including the original composer, I honestly thought that, well, first of all, it's gonna be a single one-shot movie and that's gonna be it, but instead being adapted into a live action. Different yet similar plots from anime to live actions or from anything to anything else can feel like a whiplash since you are used to the original plot that you experienced first. A lot of people, for instance, prefer the 90s Hunter x Hunter, well, if they watched that one first, since we tend to gravitate towards things we are more familiar with. So when a lot of people have seen the anime and probably rewatched it a dozen times, and then jumping right into the live action will make them feel like they are watching a bootleg copy of the story because a lot of times it feels like it is. Do you know that meme, every masterpiece has its cheap copy? Well, that's pretty much what the live action is to the actual anime. Let's just take a look at the story of each episode of the live action and let's compare it to the actual anime. In episode 1 you got the casino stuff in the beginning as well as the red eye business later on as well, which was in the anime. And just a lot of things from this episode were similar to the original from what I can remember. Faye made an appearance here instead of slightly later on, and talking about introducing characters at different times, Ed made an appearance at the very end of the show. Wow, can't wait to see more of him, Lamau. Episode 2 was the teddy bear bomber thing. This one was very different from the anime, so much that I thought that I am actually watching an original episode. Episode 2 was kinda ass though, so it either way doesn't really matter. Episode 3 was the Abdul Hakim stuff, you know, the guy that changed his appearance and stuff. Gran made an appearance there as well, but did he? This is clearly not the Gran from the anime people know. In the live action he was just there as a joke about cross-dressing, which was like, what? How can you even compare those two and be like, yeah, that's the same character? Overall, I kinda enjoyed episode 3, I would say that it was the best episode in the live action, or at least my favorite, although competition for this isn't really all that much to be honest. Episode 4 was about the bioweapon that turns people into trees. Wait, did this even happen in the original anime? I don't even remember. Did it happen? Tell me in the comments below, please. This episode was kinda crap for a lot of it. Some parts were entertaining, but it didn't really cover a whole lot of the cringiness the show already had. Whatever, episode 5 was the Jet's backstory time. That was alright for the most part, I enjoyed it I guess. I don't remember this part from the anime all that much though. Episode 6 was the mind thing, that was way different than in the anime. I wasn't really a fan of this episode, it was really cringe for most of it. The dialogue felt terrible and I would say that this was the worst episode by far. Not that I would say it, I do say it! Jesus Christ, f this episode in the ass. Episode 7 was about well, how to say it, well, after episode 6 I just dropped it, okay? I am sorry. I really tried to force myself through it. I thought I could finish it for this video, but I just got so bored so quickly. Well, now that people actually finished it, so I don't need to take any blame for that, lmao. Characters to the plot mean a lot, since Bebop is also a character-driven story, so characters do matter since the live action mostly focuses on the characters as well as the original anime. Me as well as a lot of other people though didn't really seem to care about a lot of the characters in the live action, well, maybe aside from Spike and Jet sometimes. I thought a lot of their interactions were pretty entertaining to say the least, but aside from them, to a lot of characters I was like, yeah, okay, why are you here? Because even just by watching it, with your brain turned off and without really thinking much about it, it still feels very different. When it comes to praising Cowboy Bebop, 9 out of 10 fans are gonna talk about the vibe of the show, since the plot a lot of the times isn't as complex or intricate as in some other shows even from that time period. Like Story Fam, but talking about the deep philosophies of fighting a fridge that's been corrupted by spoiled food, or talking about the deep philosophies and nuances of eating hallucination mushrooms just isn't cutting it for me, man. I'm sorry. Actually, not sorry. If the vibe is different and it doesn't really meet the quality of the original, it's gonna be disappointing to a lot of people. You can pinpoint every major difference in tone whenever it's a change of character interactions, a change of characters themselves or the plot, and what's happening on the screen in general. But why is it so different? If you look at the anime from the past, there are some series similar to others. If you look at Fist of the North Star, in terms of tone, you can compare it to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. If you look at shonen from 2000s, you can tell it's a shonen from 2000s, and if you look at modern sports shonen, you can tell that it's very much a modern sports shonen, and so on and so forth. So going by this, we can tell that the reason why the tone feels so different from the original is because they were made in completely different time frames. Modern jokes about sexualities, silly recreation of wishes, fae and many other characters, other types of not very traditional bebop humor and stuff like that can be found in it as well. I bet that creators were watching an episode of Trash Taste and they were like, oh, that looks pretty great, let's make this into a Cowboy Bebop live action series where they talk about food, shitting and occasionally bounty hunting. Yeah, that's definitely not gonna get cancelled, eh? In my own little conclusion, the Bebop Netflix should have just been a single movie experiment if it catches on. It could have turned out just like the Cowboy Bebop anime movie from the early 2000s, which I also enjoyed, and they could have just switched it from animation into a live action. Although I don't really know any live action series adaptations from what I know, there are just live action movies rather than a full-on series of live action anime stuff, so in a way it was experimental on its own. I definitely recommend watching other people's reactions and opinions on Bebop live action. RealLifeRyan made a fun non-hate critique rant on Bebop Netflix, which was pretty great. A lot of other YouTubers that I didn't even know were making videos about it, as well as other media, coming out with the news of live action getting cancelled, which was then memed on Twitter, which was pretty funny, not gonna lie. Tell me how you felt about Netflix Bebop and this video in the comments below. Definitely subscribe for more content from me and share, that surely helps a lot. You can follow me on my Twitter and Twitch as well. All of the links are in the description, so check them out. And until next time, see ya later, Space Fanboy.